That was a bird, a 3-day-old bird, stepping off the edge of a cliff 400 feet high, as tall as a 40-story building, into nothing but open air. And no, I'm not going to tell you yet whether it lived, because before any of this makes sense, before you can understand why an animal would ever do something that looks so exactly like throwing its own life away, you have to understand the trap it was born into. A trap its mother built, and she built it out of love. This is a barnacle goose, high in the Arctic, in those few short weeks of summer when the ice finally lets go. And months before this gosling was even an egg, its mother had to make the most important decision of her whole life, where to lay. Because up here, a goose egg is treasure. It's a warm, rich, completely defenseless meal, sitting out in the open, in a land that is always hungry, and everything that can get to it will. Gulls, skuas, and worst of all, the animal that owns this entire frozen world, the Arctic fox. A fox can clear a whole nest of eggs in an afternoon and come back for the mother afterward. Out on the flat tundra, a nest on the ground isn't a nursery, it's a buffet with a sign on it. So the mother does something that sounds completely mad and is actually brilliant. She doesn't hide her nest. She puts it somewhere nothing can reach. She flies to a sheer rock cliff, hundreds of feet tall, finds a tiny ledge up near the top, a bare shelf of stone, a straight drop below it, a straight wall above, and she builds her nest right there, in the sky. No fox can climb to it. Nothing can. For the price of living on a knuckle of rock in a screaming wind, she's bought her eggs the safest address in the Arctic. Honestly, it's some of the best parenting anywhere in nature. And then the eggs hatch, and the brilliant plan shows you the catch it was hiding all along. Because a baby barnacle goose doesn't arrive with a lunchbox. This isn't a songbird chick that sits in the nest with its mouth open while its parents shuttle in worms all day. A gosling is built to walk and feed itself almost the moment it dries off, and what it eats is grass, low tundra plants, the green stuff down on the ground. And there is no grass 400 feet up a bare stone cliff. There's nothing up there, not a blade, not a leaf, nothing at all. And this is the cruel part, the part with no way around it. The parents can't fix it. A goose can't carry food. It physically cannot bring a beakful of grass up to a hungry chick. That's just not a thing a goose body can do. So now the gosling is sitting in the safest place in the entire Arctic, and it is quietly starving to death inside it. The fortress that saved the egg has turned into a prison for the chick. The food is on the ground, hundreds of feet down, and the gosling can't fly. It won't be able to fly for weeks. Its wings are two useless little stubs of fluff, which leaves it a choice that's really only one choice: wearing a costume. Stay on the safe ledge and starve, slowly and for certain, or get to the food. And there is exactly one way down. So a day or two after hatching, the parents walk to the lip of the ledge, and they do something that to the chick must look like the worst kind of betrayal. They jump. They can fly, of course. They just drop off the edge, glide down, and land far below. And then they stand on the rocks at the bottom, and they call, up and up, over and over, "Come down, come down, come down." And the gosling, 3 days old, the size of a tennis ball, a ball of gray down with two black eyes, waddles to the very edge of a 400-foot drop, looks out at a wall of stone and a horrible amount of empty space, and steps off. And here's the first thing that should stop you cold. Most of the time it lives. I know how that sounds. This tiny thing free falls the height of a skyscraper. It hits the rock face, bounces, cartwheels, clips an outcrop and spins off it, smacks another, and tumbles the rest of the way down. And then, more often than not, it hits the bottom, sits up, gives itself a shake, and it's fine. Not broken, not stunned into next week. Fine. And the reason why is one of the loveliest little bits of physics in the whole natural world. It survives because it's small, because it's soft, and it weighs almost nothing. A downy gosling is basically a warm handful of feathers wrapped around a heartbeat, and something that light just can't build up enough force to kill itself when it lands. Its entire body is a crumple zone. That fluff, the exact thing that makes it look so hopeless, so breakable, is doing two jobs at once on the way down. It's a parachute dragging against the air, and it's a crash mat spreading out the blow. The chick bounces off the rocks the way a tennis ball bounces off pavement. Because in all the ways that matter right here, that's more or less what it is. Now here's the part I think is the real heart of it. It has to jump now at 2-3 days old, because it's this small. That's not bad timing. That's the whole point. A 2-day-old gosling can fall off a cliff and walk away. The same bird a week later, Bigger, stronger, heavier, more grown up in every way you'd think would help, hits the ground and dies. The little bit of weight it puts on in that 1 week is just enough to turn a survivable bounce into a killing blow. So it can't wait. It can't get ready. Waiting to get stronger is the thing that would kill it. It has to make the most dangerous leap of its life while it is at its youngest, its weakest, its most fragile, because being young and weak and fragile is, this one time, the exact thing keeping it alive. Sit with that for a second, because there's almost nothing else like it. Everywhere else you look in nature, growing up makes you safer. Here for 3 or 4 days, being a fragile little newborn is a superpower, and growing up is a death sentence. It's racing to beat. So the fall, the part that drops your stomach, the part you want to look away from, is the part this bird is actually built to survive. But I told you at the start there was a trap, and the fall was never really it. Because the whole time that Gosling's been tumbling down the cliff, something at the bottom has been watching it come. The Arctic fox, the exact hunter this entire plan was built to escape. And here's the thing, the cliff worked. The fox genuinely can't climb up to that ledge. It never had to. It just waits at the bottom because it knows with total certainty that every chick up on that rock has to come down, and it has to come down here, onto this stretch of scree, right into reach. The cliff didn't beat the fox, it just moved the fight to the ground. So the second the gosling lands, dazed, wobbling, the whole world still spinning from the drop, the real test of its life begins. Not the fall, the walk. It now has to cross a stretch of open rock and tundra to reach the safety of the water, on tiny legs at a stagger, while a fox that's been waiting all morning is already sprinting flat out at it. The parents throw themselves in, hissing, flapping, doing everything 2 geese can do to drag the fox's eyes somewhere else, but they can't carry the chick, and they can't win the fight for it. On that last open stretch, the only things that save a gosling are speed, luck, and numbers. And if you're sitting there quietly willing one small gray bird to make it across that rock, do me a favor and subscribe, because there's a new wild survival story here every week, and the next little one is going to need you too. Okay, back to the bottom of the cliff, because this is where it's decided. Numbers. That's the last piece of the plan, and it's why they never jump alone. They jump together. On the same few nights, when the calling starts, dozens of goslings pour off the cliff at once, a whole rain of tumbling gray down, all landing in the same short window, all breaking into the same desperate run at the same moment, because a fox, however fast, can only grab and carry so many at a time. Flood the base of the cliff with chicks all at once, and in the sheer chaos of it most of them slip past while the fox is busy with the unlucky few. It's the same brutal arithmetic that runs underneath every one of these stories. Some get taken so the rest get through. That's the plan. That has always been the plan. So, our gosling, the one you watched step off the edge into nothing right at the very start before I'd tell you how it ended. It fell 400 feet. It hit the rock face and bounced, and hit it again, and spun down the last of it and slammed into the scree at the bottom, hard enough to knock the breath clean out of it. And for one long second, it didn't move. And then, it got up, found its feet, found its parents' voices calling from the shore, and it did the only thing that was ever going to save it. It ran, low and fast and terrified, straight across the open rock while the whole world was teeth, and it reached the water. It made it. That day, on that cliff, thousands of them made it in exactly the same way, exactly as they have for longer than there have been people to stand and watch. That's the strange, staggering truth of the barnacle goose. It isn't an animal that survives in spite of throwing itself off a cliff. It survives because it does. Its mother made a bet that a 400-foot fall was the safer gamble than a fox, and that her chick's own fragile little body would be enough to carry it through, and against everything your eyes are screaming at you, she was right. The most dangerous thing this bird will ever do, it does on its second day alive. Before it can fly, before it can fight, before it can do anything at all except fall, and trust that being small and soft and brand new is, just this once, exactly enough. So if this one stayed with you, subscribe. There's a new wild survival story here every single week. And be honest with me down in the comments. If the only way out of the safest place you'd ever known was to step off a cliff on your second day alive, with no wings, no plan, and no promise you'd land, could you have made yourself jump? Because somewhere in the Arctic tonight, on a dark ledge above a long drop, one of them just did.